Love is blind, and it'll take over your mind. What you think is love is truly not. You need to elevate and find.
You are now listening to The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast hosted by Kay on Spotify. A podcast aimed to uncover and share the stories behind heinous and insane acts that have been overlooked or overshadowed by mainstream media, getting justice for the voices that can't speak.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Kay, and I am the host of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast. A podcast designed to focus on crimes committed in the Black community that you don't hear about in mainstream media, giving a voice to those victims that have otherwise been silenced. Whoo, y'all. I am so glad to be back into the swing of things. I told y'all that after the wedding was done that I would be back to doing my weekly episodes, and I definitely plan on sticking to that. Y'all, the wedding is done. It was so beautiful. It was amazing. It was a little cold in the venue, but we made it work. My planner was absolutely amazing. She did the damn thing. She was my planner. She was also my decorator. It literally was a winter wonderland up in there. That was the whole theme, and I loved it. Shout out to M&J Events. Shout out to Kobe Catering. The food was dope as hell. Everything was just awesome. And, I am finally married, y'all. I said I do to the man of my dreams, and we had the most beautiful day. Our kids were there, friends and family. There were some people that didn't make it, unfortunately. And it was a little disheartening because I'm like, damn, they ain't even bother to call, text, carrier pigeon, nothing, to say that they wasn't coming. But I'm definitely grateful for, those that did. One thing that I will say is for anybody that's planning a wedding or getting married soon, please remember to rest. There were so many times I felt like I was going to fall the hell out because I was doing so much at one time. Even with having a planner, I was still all over the place. Like that weekend was insane. As beautiful as the ceremony was and as beautiful as the day was, like the fact that I actually thought that I could go to work the day before and work my whole shift, I'm so glad that I took off because there is no way in hell that I would have been able to do that. I'm like, oh, I can still go to work and, still have time to get my hair and nails done and all that shit. I'm so glad I took off work. But I definitely, encourage brides if you're very hands on. Some brides will get a planner that just does everything. They don't have to worry about anything. They just show up. I was very involved with our planner, so I definitely, encourage to rest because your body's going to need it. Like literally the day after the wedding, I slept all damn day. I was tired, okay? It was a lot of last minute things and changes behind the scenes. And, there were some parts that were a little stressful. I was having anxiety attacks and panic attacks. I honestly didn't think that the wedding was going to happen at one point. But when it came down to the wire, we did the damn thing. But like I said, I am officially a Mrs. now. So let the fun times begin. And cheers to that. And cheers to tonight's episode. Tonight I'm, taking it a little easy. I'm drinking a nice little cocktail. It's some sangria that's mixed with some brandy. It tastes so good and it goes down so smooth. It's my own little, I guess you can call it concoction. I strongly encourage everybody to try it because, a little different taste is needed every now and then. Just look like Pops from Wayne's brother would say, just a little taste, just a little taste. It's just a little taste that's needed that's a little different every now and then. You know what I'm saying? But I know I needed it for this episode. Now, last week we left off talking about the infamous murderer Travis Berrien and the two victims, Nancy Cushman and Angela Brooks. Now, if you recall, I was telling you that this case was a little different because it led to an even bigger case. And Travis just completely disappeared. And unfortunately, no arrest was ever officially made for Nancy and Angela. So, on this episode, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into Mr. Travis Berrien and what happened after that. Y'all ready? Let's get into it. Y'all know what time it is. Let's get it. This week's case involves Michael Riley, victim, Terrence Griswold, accused. I know y'all are like, what the hell is accused, Kay? But I promise y'all it's going to make sense in a few. Antoinette Riley, Michael's wife and conspirator. Terrell Momum, co conspirator and mastermind of sorts. Katrina Ledford, Michael's stepdaughter, Terrell's girlfriend and co conspirator. And the infamous murderer, Travis Berrien. Antoinette Riley was born in 1964. Couldn't get the exact date because, child, nobody was talking about her as a person. And, that can be either good or bad, but based on this whole story, yeah, I'm going to go with more bad than anything. But, she was born in 1964 in Sandersville, Georgia, this little small town where her family grew up. Now, there's really not a lot of information on her, like absolutely none, other than, an incident that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But from what I could find on her, she had a daughter named Katrina, and she loved her daughter very much. They had a very close relationship. And shout out to the happy mother-daughter relationships. Y'all know mother-daughter relationships can be a little tricky cuz usually they fighting like cats and dogs, and the mama dotes more towards the son than the daughter, but they had a very good relationship. And eventually they left the small town of Sandersville and ended up moving into a somewhat bigger area of Statesboro, Georgia. So Antoinette took on a job as a nurse at a local healthcare provider where she worked for like a solid 19 years. Like she was well respected, she was doing a damn thing in her job. She was a very hard worker, provided for her family. And, in her spare time, she would spend time with her family in Sandersville. So one day when she was at work, she met Michael Riley. Now, let me tell y'all, Michael was that nigga. Okay. Michael Anthony Riley was born August 31st, 1962 in Accord, Georgia, which is in Dodge County. Y'all, some of these cities, they are so fucking tiny. It gives off sundown, kind of town. I'm just saying. But when you hear some of these cities, you're going to be like, what? Where? Huh? Yes, all in Georgia. Okay. So Michael Riley was born in Accord, Georgia, in Dodge County. He was born to Aroni Berry and the late Samuel Riley Sr. Now, Michael came from a really big family. He had two sisters, Gloria and Sandra, and then he had three brothers, Charles, Samuel Jr., and John. Now, Michael pretty much was in a very spiritual family. Early on, he knew what he wanted to do. He was never really much trouble. Like by the time he was 13, he had gotten saved and then started serving in the ministry at 17. Like, I'm not mad at that. Like he had what he wanted to do in mind. Most 13-year-olds, they aren't trying to get saved. And at 17 years old, them boys is out there jumping in pussy and doing everything else but jumping in the Bible. So, the fact that he was doing that was great. Now, that didn't mean that he wasn't, living a little on the edge, because Michael did have some kids himself and they wasn't in wedlock either. He had four daughters, Tamara, Cassandra, Elizabeth, and Aroni. And that's so sweet. He named her after his mother. That is just too sweet. So, while he saved, it wasn't like he was just living his life under a rock. You know what I'm saying? Like he was still very much doing him. He was still very much a man, but he was an accomplished man. Like he was serving in the ministry at the age of 17. He attended Bruton Parker College in Mount Vernon, Georgia. That's where he got a bachelor degree in psychology. He also went to the Heart of Georgia Institute, where he earned a second degree as a licensed practical nurse. He started working as a private duty nurse at the Pediatric Healthcare for Kids, which is like this program where they provide home-based services for, the medically complex and fragile children. So, for example, when you have kids that can't really get services like that at school or, something like that to where they may not even be able to attend a regular school, then, it requires them to have a full-time caregiver other, than their parents or something. And I actually know a few people that have had these services for their kids. One of them was born prematurely and had to have a trach because his lungs weren't fully developed. Like, I think he was born at like 6 months old and his lungs weren't fully developed. So he had to have that trach. So they needed full time care and would have a nurse come in and take care of him because, the mom, she had to go to work, she had responsibilities. And so that's the kind of job that Michael had. He provided that kind of care. In addition to that, he was also a certified field business investigator with the Department of Juvenile Justice. And he was a certified CPR and first aid instructor. So, yeah, homie had some accolades on him, okay? He wasn't just no regular degular nigga. He was a self taught musician on top of everything else. Like, bruh stayed working, okay? And Michael being, so hardworking, that's how he met Antoinette. And Michael was a smooth looking brother back in the day. Okay. He may have been a pastor, but he was still very much that nigga. And he went over to Antoinette and he spit that game. What's up, baby? How you doing? My name Michael. I'm a pastor. And, Antoinette was like, "Okay, I see you, Michael. How you doing, baby?" Like, damn, this man got it going on. He's fine. He all attractive and stuff. He about his business. He out here spreading that good word. Let me see if he could spread me. Okay, I don't know. She probably didn't say it like that, but I'm just saying, okay? But bruh laid that game on her because they started dating, and before you know it, they're married. Now the pastor, he's still doing his pastoral work. He's pastoring quite a few churches. He was the pastor at Bible Way in Tifton, Georgia. He was the pastor at Redemption Church of God in Christ in McRae, Georgia. But, he started having some issues with the good old first lady. See, Antoinette, he had an issue with her spending time with her family in Sandersville. Now, that is according to her. Apparently, Antoinette would go back to Sandersville, Georgia a lot and spend time with her family. And, Michael didn't like that. Like, hey, listen, woman, you supposed to be my wife. We got this church. You supposed to be the first lady. So why you keep disappearing? You got people out here thinking I'm single, girl. I ain't in these streets. But you living your life like you in these streets. So what's good? And supposedly, Michael had a little bit of a violent side, so much so that the cops got involved. And it wasn't just for Michael, though. See, on June 22nd, 2009, Antoinette and Michael got into a little argument, and things got physical between the two of them. Michael's like, "Yo, I told you I'm getting tired of you running around in these streets." And Antoinette, she all, whatever. That's my family. Who the fuck you think you are, little church boy? And then next thing you know, pop, pop, they start throwing hands. So the cops come up and they arrest both of their asses and charge them with a domestic altercation, aka battery. But before they ever went to court, the charges got dropped. And I guess the courts was just like, all right, this is just some husband and wife shit. We're gonna go ahead and let it go because we got bigger things to worry about. So Antoinette and Michael, they continue to live their life, doing their thing. And Antoinette is just like, I'm tired of this abuse from him. She's confiding in her daughter, and they're talking about the things that are going on in the household. Now, this is around 2011 ish. And Michael is now starting his own church. He started a church called First Glory Fellowship, but then in March of 2012, he decided, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and change the name. And he changed it to Newburgh Non-Denominational Church, which was in Statesboro, Georgia. Like I said, he was a pastor at quite a few churches. Like bro was about his business. Now, the church that he started, it was kind of like a storefront church because it only had about, a few dozen members, but it was one of those very loving churches and it was his. Like he put his all into it. So While he's focused on his church, Antoinette is confiding in her daughter Katrina. And ooh, now baby, let me tell you, Katrina is a piece of work. Okay. Let me tell y'all about little Miss Katrina. Katrina Denise Ledford was born in 1984 in Davisboro, Georgia. Now, Katrina and her mama, like I said, they're very close. You know, she was a sweet girl, all of that, and she had a good job. I'm talking about a good job, okay? See, Katrina used to be a prison guard at Washington State Prison in Davisboro, Georgia, where she lived. And Shawty had been there for a while, you know, and as it turned out, this was around the time that things were starting to take a turn with her mom and her stepfather. But Katrina had this great job at the prison and she worked at a male prison. Now, Washington State Prison, if you didn't know, is like I said in Davisboro, Georgia, which is a level 5 prison. And y'all know that means maximum security because they've got like close to 1,500, or rather a little over 1,500 inmates. But she was working at this prison and, you know, making good money, all of that, doing her thing. And unfortunately, like a lot of the guards, you know, they get caught up with the inmates as far as helping them out. Now, y'all know contraband is a big thing. And well, Katrina got into the habit of smuggling in contraband, cell phones, meds, whatever these niggas needed. And while she was giving them what they needed, she was going to get what she needed, particularly from a man named Terrell Moma. Terrell Momum was born in 1978, and baby, clearly he was already in prison, which is where he belongs because this nigga had an extensive criminal record. What got him locked up was back in August of 1996, he had 4 counts of aggravated assault and armed robbery, 2 counts of aggravated sodomy, ugh, 4 counts of terroristic threats and acts, 2 counts of possession of a firearm during a crime, 2 counts of kidnapping, and cruelty to children. Like this boy did some diabolical, fucked up shit. And when he got caught up, he tried to, you know, basically hold his chick and her kids hostage. And like he did a lot of damage to the victims. So when he got arrested, he got sentenced to 20 years. Now remember, this was back in 1996. So if he got 20 years, he should have been out around 2016. Okay. Keep that in your memory. So he was at Washington State Prison for a good minute when he was in there. And that's when he met Katrina. And you know, Katrina sees him and she's like, oh, he cute. And y'all know how these niggas are in prison, especially when it comes to these females and their guard. Oh, they gonna finesse and say whatever they gotta say and do whatever they gotta do to get the panties up off of you so that they can get what they want. And Katrina, I'm sorry. She was she was not somebody that I would just say, "Ooh, she's beautiful." Like, you know, they say that there's somebody for everybody and, you know, we're all beautiful in God's eyes. Don't get it twisted. But Katrina, she was a little baby was a little featured challenged, okay? Like she looked like I'm gonna go to hell for this. But she looked like she had a face that only a mother could love. Like it was giving very much hamburglar, okay? It was giving very much.
Big bag, big bag, big bag, big bag. Yeah, my bag is loaded up with snacks and different foods. Squeeze into this tiny shirt, my big bag has no room. Big bag, big bag, big bag, big bag.
Oh God, I gotta do better, I swear. But you know, I'm sorry, y'all. But you know, Terrell, he's feeling shit. And he's like, you know, all right, she thick, you know, she got a nice little body, ass and titties, all of that, you know, whatever. So maybe that's why he was fucking with her. I don't know, because it ain't like the nigga had much options. And shit, he wasn't that much better himself. But you know, when Katrina met Terrell, she's like head over heels in love with him. Like, baby, he must have been dropping that good dig off to her. Okay. had her smuggling in shit for him. I mean, they kicking it extra hard. She done got him a cell phone while he was in there. If she wasn't at work, she texting him. They talking on the phone all the time. She finding ways to, get on his cell block and all of that. And when you in prison, you can't have your cell phone out like that for these exact purposes. But Katrina didn't let that stop her. And then she got sloppy, like sloppy, sloppy. She got messy with it. And, my thing is, not all of the inmates are on some whole, no snitch mentality. Like, somebody was in there, like, listen, we ain't getting these benefits. Like, we ain't getting no treatment. How come I can't get no cell phone? Shit, if I can't have a cell phone, then I'm fucking snitching. And so, eventually it get back to the warden, Donald Burrow, that Katrina was smuggling in contraband. Dumbass. So, the warden is like, oh, word? Okay. Well, you know what? We're going to do a strip search. So one day when Katrina came to work, she get pulled to the side and the warden tells her, hey, we need to strip search you and make sure that you ain't got no contraband on you. And she just flat out refused, like, no. Yeah, that's really gonna make you look innocent, girl. Okay. So the warden already had suspicions that she was fucking with an inmate. So, he tried to tell her, like, yo, we really need to do this strip search. And Katrina was on some, no, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that. And so the warden just he says, okay, all right, cool. So you smuggling in contraband, you fucking inmates, and you refusing a strip search, you fired. And just like that, in the fall of 2012, Katrina gets fired. And Shawty got escorted up out of there. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Not only that, but the warden made sure that she was not allowed to be in any prison in the state of Georgia. Damn. Like, not only do you get fired, but you can't step foot in any prison in the entire state of Georgia. And Georgia got a lot of motherfucking prisons. Damn. Like, fuck the fact that you may have family in another prison or something. Your ass can't even go see them. But Katrina wasn't about to, lose Terrell. And she was like, well, I don't give a damn what the warden says. I'm going to go see my man. She's still texting him every day. They're still talking every day. She done downloaded this little bootleg ass app, Tango, so that she could video chat her man. And like, they were talking all the time. Like, I don't know how the hell this man was able to move around the prison like he was and not get caught with that damn cell phone. But he did it somehow. Now, remember, Katrina was told that she couldn't go to any prison in Georgia. Do y'all know that this girl went and took a coworker's password, another prison guard, and accessed the account, then put her name on the list as a preferred visitor so that she could go visit Terrell? And so, like, I'm sitting here like, how the hell was she able to get back into the prison and not be seen by prison guards? The very people that she used to work with. Like, did the warden not tell them that she was on this list? Like, that tells you, I'm thinking like, damn, they lazy as hell. How they not see this? They weren't paying attention or whatever. They knew she wasn't supposed to be there. But here's the thing. It wasn't at Washington State Prison. See, after that whole situation happened, Warden Burroughs had Terrell's ass transferred. Mm-hmm. That ass got transferred from Washington State Prison to Dooley Prison in Unadilla, Georgia. I keep telling y'all these names, honey. Woo-hoo-hoo. So Katrina didn't have to worry about seeing the warden and the guards that knew her from Washington because Terrell is now at Dooley. And she was taking full advantage. She was going up to the prison every other weekend to go see this nigga. Like, she wasn't gonna let nobody stop her. Now, at this point, it ain't like she fucking him because clearly she's not there at Washington anymore. Like, she can't just get easy access. At most, you can visit. She got fired in the fall of 2012, but she continued to see him for almost another year. And then she was like, you know what? I really love this nigga. Like, this is my man, my man, my man. I want my mama to meet him. So she calls Terrell over the phone and she does a three-way with her mama. And she tells her mama, Mama, I want you to meet Terrell. This is my man. Bitch, y'all ain't at the park. Y'all ain't at the dinner. You are literally introducing this nigga to your mama over the phone on a three-way recorded phone call. And this was like maybe late May, early June 2013-ish. And her mom was like, yo, what? Yo, jail man. See, this is where her mama should have told her how stupid she was. But instead, her mama's like, well, I guess, all right, if you like it, I love it. And we knew that that's the black people way of saying you stupid as fuck. Like, and also, hey, I don't approve of this shit. And that's exactly what that meant. So Katrina introduces her man to her mama, and they having a little conversation, whatever, whatever. And one of the first things that her mama says is like, "Ooh, I can't stand my husband. He's abusive. I just can't deal with his ass no more." And Terrell is like, really? Because I can fix that. I'm a gangster disciple. Now, for those that don't know, gangster disciples are obviously a gang. They, according to some people, they say they're a part of the Bloods. Some say that they're not. But things have changed so much over time, considering that originally they were founded, for a positive purpose, and then it transitioned to more of a prison and street gang. But Terrell was a part of it, and so he offered to fix the problem. And I'm thinking, how you gonna fix something when you behind bars? But they continued their conversation, and it was getting to the point that Antoinette was starting to contact Terrell on her own without her daughter. She would text him and send him pictures of what Michael looked like, all kinds of shit. They were sending messages all throughout the night and into the morning. And this is where I start to think,
No, you done fucked up, right? No, 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 no. You know you done fucked up, right?
like, nigga, how is it that you got so comfortable telling somebody that you don't even know, that you've never seen face to face, that you was gonna handle a nigga for them? Like somebody that you literally have talked to in a time span of what, 2 weeks? And you don't know what the fuck is going on. And Antoinette, ma'am, you are so tired of dealing with your husband that you want something to happen to him. How are you so comfortable in telling a stranger, oh, I want my husband to be handled? Like, what if you were saying that to the feds? Because they can set your ass up from the prisons. They've done it before. What if Terrell was like a snitch in the damn prison or something like that? You just blatantly gave this information up. And, Antoinette is telling Terrell, listen, I can't keep dealing with him. He's abusive. I'm tired of him putting his hands on me. He gotta go. We already living in two different rooms. I'm 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 tired of this. I'm sleeping in one of the guest bedrooms. That nigga attacked me. All I did was unplug his treadmill. Okay, so there was this situation where Michael was working out on the treadmill and she unplugged it so that they could, talk. And supposedly he just went ape shit on her. Like, and again, this is according to her. And so Terrell decides, all right, you know what? I'm gonna get that nigga handled. I'm gonna get it taken care of. So Antoinette sends him a picture of what Michael looks like, so that way, they know who they dealing with. And of course, Terrell is telling his girl, yeah, baby, your mama want me to get rid of your stepdaddy. We gonna get this nigga handled and get him taken care of. And Katrina's like all for it, So they start plotting and scheming on how they want to teach Michael a lesson. It's Sunday, June 30th, 2013, around 6:30 in the morning. Antoinette is in her room, asleep, or at least faking it. And she gets a text message from Terrell telling her, hey, are they in? Now, Antoinette's in her room and Michael is in the master bedroom in his bed and he's knocked out asleep because duh, it's 6:30 in the morning. The sad part is he never saw it coming. Some men broke into the home, which I guess really wasn't breaking in, but they entered the house and they went into the master bedroom where Michael was. Antoinette, she's hiding under a bed in her bedroom. She never saw them face to face, but she knew that they were there. And it was definitely more than one. They go to the master bedroom and they shoot Michael at point blank range in the left eye with a 9mm handgun. He never saw them come in, never heard them, nothing. And he dies instantly. And when they're gone, Antoinette text messages Terrell and she says, they shot him. Now, while this is going on, Katrina is recovering from gallbladder surgery. But, she's playing her part because she also texts Terrell and she tells him, make sure y'all do this shit clean. She don't want her house messed up. She looking out for her mama now. She like, listen, don't y'all fuck up my mama house. And Terrell, he reassures her, I got you, baby. We good. So he texts Antoinette and he tells her, hey, wait 30 minutes before you call 911. I guess that was to give them enough time to get away and, all of that. Now, I know at this point you're probably asking, well, Kay, did he get paid? Was he getting money? Nope. That was never discussed. This dumbass never asked her for money. He not even so much like never even brought the subject up. I guess this nigga was like, I'm gonna do this shit for free. But sir, what was the reason?
What was the reason?
I had a reason?
What was the reason?
What was the reason?
I just explained the reason.
What was the reason, bitch?
I don't need to explain myself to you. And
what was the reason?
Michael Riley dies at the age of 51. And Antoinette does as Terrell tells her to, and she waits 30 minutes before she calls the police. And she puts on her act, and she does it. 30 minutes goes by. She goes to touch his body and check for a pulse. And she calls the cops and she puts on her performing act of the year. Hello. Oh my God, my husband, he's not breathing. I touched him, but there's no pulse. He's been shot. Oh my God, somebody please send help. EMS gets there and they arrive and they find Michael indeed dead. And it doesn't take long for the cops to, start figuring out, okay, something is wrong here. And Antoinette is, oh, I don't know what happened. I came home, I checked his pulse, and I'm a nurse, and blah, 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 blah. And the cops were like, you were coming home at 6:30 in the morning? And then she switches it up and she tells him, well, I was hiding under the bed when I heard the men come in. How did you know it was men? And, she's playing the victim, of course. I don't know. I just heard them. My husband, he's dead. Oh, God. Now, Katrina is in the hospital, remember, laid up, recovering from gallbladder surgery. And she's all upset because a friend of Antoinette calls her and tells her, baby, your stepdaddy is dead. And so now it's her turn to put on a performance. Y'all, her acting was worse than Carisha and BMF. And she's all, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. No. But the cops are still suspicious of Antoinette. Like something's just not right about this. And before the end of the day, their intuition kicked in because they're like, okay, this woman clearly is on some shit. They bring her into the station and her story falls apart. So they said, you know what? Arrest her ass. And she starts telling everything. She tells them, okay, listen, my daughter got this boyfriend and he offered to take care of my husband for me. I've been tired of him, abusing me and he's been putting his hands on me. He's cheating me, deceiving me, mistreating me, all kind of shit. He was just so wrong and hateful and so mean. And honestly, I thought they were just gonna mess him up a little bit. I didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't do anything wrong. And so the cops are like, so who was it that did it then? And she tells them, well, my daughter's been messing with this guy. He's locked up at Dooley State Prison. His name is Terrell. See, this is why you should have at least got some money on your books or something, nigga, because this bitch snitched on you so motherfucking fast. She didn't even give you opportunity to brag about the shit. You talked to her at 6:30 that morning in a text message, and by fucking 2 o'clock in the afternoon, she's arrested. Now, ain't that some shit? You did all of this shit and went and killed a man that you didn't even know because your girlfriend's mother basically fed you a bullshit ass story of, oh, I've been abused. You ain't had no proof. You never asked for any. You just went with it and said, fuck it. But you know what? I'm gonna calm down. I'm gonna save the rest of that for fair or foul. So, anyway, Antoinette's telling the cops, yeah, my daughter was dating this guy and he set it all up. Oh, she was, huh? Okay, well, let's bring her ass in. So Katrina gets brought into it, and the cops are thinking, little bitch, we don't give a fuck if you just had surgery or not. They go to Katrina and tell her, we bringing you in for conspiracy to commit murder. Baby, Katrina ain't no better than her mama. She was willing to testify against her mama and Terrell. Baby, ain't no fun if the rabbit got the gun. Okay. Guess that little jail dig wasn't hitting no more when her freedom was on the line. Bitch, you better be behind the bars just like your nigga. And so she tells them, well, yeah, I didn't have anything to do with it. And I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't know what they were gonna do. I'm innocent. Which is true. She didn't pull the trigger, but she's also charged with murder because this is premeditated. Like it's planned. Y'all sat there and planned this shit out. So she gets charged with murder, and now they're trying to figure out who actually killed Michael. Obviously, it wasn't Antoinette because although she was behind planning it, she never actually pulled the trigger. And, the gun was never found. Then Katrina, she wasn't even in the house. She was recovering from gallbladder surgery, so it couldn't have been her. And well, Terrell's ass is in prison, so he damn sure couldn't have, done the deed. He just orchestrated everything. So who actually shot Michael? Who were these men that were in the house? At this point, they decide to go question Terrell. They head on over to Dooley. Oh, that box. That is the weirdest fucking name for a prison. But, they're going to him and like, yeah, we know that you had something to do with this murder. So why don't you just go ahead, make it easy and tell us the information? And y'all ain't none of these niggas know how to keep their mouth shut. Terrell started singing like Whitney Houston doing the Star Spangled Banner. He tells them, yeah, I offered to have a nigga killed. And while he's talking, Antoinette is still being questioned and she's pleading, I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. I'm just a grieving wife. And then it changed to, okay, well, I didn't know that they were going to kill him. I just thought that they were just going to, beat him up or something. See, I had planned on filing for a divorce after the 4th of July, but this just kind of happened. He offered to handle him for me. I didn't know what that meant. Yeah, okay. So Antoinette Riley was officially arrested on Monday, July 1st, 2013, just one day after Michael's murder. And, where they lived is a quiet neighborhood in Greenbrier Trail. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's cool with everybody. But the residents, they're shocked. People are just like, Antoinette got arrested? That's crazy. And one of her neighbors told the cops, it's just so shocking to think that somebody had actually been killed in the neighborhood because this is a pretty quiet, easygoing place. And she talked about her encounters with Antoinette, and she's like, I didn't really talk to her all the time. We've spoken on their doorstep a few times when I was helping collect money for a charity, but she was always so pleasant. Looks can be deceiving, boo-boo. So now that they've officially arrested Antoinette, they take her to the Bullock County Jail and start the whole, process. She's charged with murder and possession of a firearm during the commission of crime. A few days go by, and on July 6th, 2013, Michael Riley's funeral was held at the Central Complex in McRae, Georgia. And y'all, they gave him a beautiful homegoing ceremony. This point, Statesboro Police Detective Sergeant James Winsky and Detective Kevin Wiley, they are all over this case. They go and they speak to Terrell, and Terrell tells them, look, y'all need to go holler at this nigga named Terrence. He the one that did this shit. And the cops are side-eyeing the fuck out of this nigga. They like, who the hell are these niggas that he's talking about? Who the hell is Terrence? And so Terrell clarifies, he was like, look, it's a nigga named Terrence Griswold. He got a homeboy that helped him out. I think the nigga name is Travis. And y'all know who Travis is, right? Yup. Travis Lorenzo Berrien, the one and only. Okay, so y'all already know a little bit of history on Travis. Like I said, he's pretty much just a damn bad seed overall. Like the little nigga was a part of the Gangster Disciples as well. He had been to prison already, and that's how he had met Terrell at one point in his life. And I mean, early on, Travis was doing good. He went to Valdosta High School. He had him a son, but that's about the extent of where the good goes. Okay. If y'all remember when I brought up Nancy Cushman and Angela Brooks in the last episode, it was assumed that he was messing with one of them. Well, yes, he indeed was. He had an on again, off again relationship with Nancy Cushman. And so remember I said that their case never really was closed because the murderer was never prosecuted, but everybody felt like he did it because he was the last one seen with them and the evidence pointed to him. Hell, looking at all the evidence, I feel like he did it. But in November of 2004, he got locked up at Washington State Prison and he did 4 years for criminal damage in the first and second degree. And so being in prison, you meet people, and that's how he linked up with Terrell. But he also got cool with this dude named Terrence once he got out. When he got out, he met Terrence and, they got tight, so tight that Terrence let Travis borrow his car. And when did he borrow his car? Oh, the day that Michael was murdered. Now, or rather the night before. Now, Terrence was this music producer from Augusta, Georgia. You got to say it like that, Augusta. So he was arrested once Terrell started talking, and Terrence was charged, and they bring him in and they're questioning him and they take him to the Bullock County Jail too. Whole time he in jail though. Do y'all know this nigga was posting on Facebook asking people to write him and send him pictures? Like, homie was struggling. How the fuck these niggas keep getting phones in these jails? Like, damn. But he is adamant with the police. And, he's arguing his innocence to the end. He's like, yo, I ain't do this shit. I ain't murder nobody. I ain't never murdered nobody. And, he was just like, yo, I can tell you, matter of fact, I was with this chick, Country. Okay, so Country is this lady named Joy Robinson. And supposedly he was with her the night of the murder and, just lent his car to Travis. But here's the thing. If he wasn't involved, why was his cell phone pinging near the location of the Riley home? Well, according to Terrence, he left his phone in the car to charge when he loaned it to Travis. And the phone was confiscated, of course. And, they went and looked at the text messages and they see that, Terrence is sending tags and calls during that night and into the morning. And that the phone showed that he had traveled to Augusta, Georgia. And y'all remember in the last episode, Travis had gone to Augusta, and that's where Nancy and Angela were found. Coincidence? Okay. So the cops are grilling the fuck out of Terrence, and he's just like, yo, this is some bullshit. I'm telling y'all, I don't know nothing about this shit. Shit, I need a lawyer. I need my lawyer, and I need to call my mama. He was not having that shit. He flat out told him, y'all not about to put this shit on me. Get me my motherfucking lawyer and get me my motherfucking mama. And so they gave him what he asked for. And while they're doing that, while he's, talking to his mama and his lawyer and everything, they check his alibi. Well, it turns out that his alibi actually checked out. He really was with this lady named Joy Robinson knocking the bottom out that bitch. And so they had no choice but to release him from jail. Now, at this point, everybody's looking for Travis. If you recall, Travis's ass disappeared shortly after Angela and Nancy were killed. And he had been brought in for questioning, but for whatever reason, they let him go. And that was early 2011 in March. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was in March of 2000. No, I'm sorry. Thanksgiving is when they died. My apologies. They died Thanksgiving of 2010. So, homie was chilling for damn near 3 years in Augusta or, various parts of Georgia. Like it wasn't nothing, just doing whatever the fuck he wanted to do. But, he was still on probation though. Well, on Monday, July 21st, 2013, Travis had to go see his probation officer in Augusta, Georgia. Now, why he did this next shit, I don't know, but he snuck a gun into the meeting. I guess he kind of knew that, word had gotten out that Terrence had been arrested. And, he probably knew they were looking for him. I mean, it's the only thing that really makes sense to me. It's the only logical explanation I could think of, you know. And at this point, it's been a few weeks since Michael had been killed. And, they now know that Travis had something to do with it. They know Travis was the one that pulled the trigger. So the cops gotta, get his ass. So they take a warrant out for his arrest. And when he shows up to his probation officer, this woman named Cheryl Latasha Warren, she's there waiting on him, ready to cuff his ass. And she flat out tells him, listen, you got a warrant out for your arrest. They here to arrest you. But Travis wasn't having it. He was like, arrest me? Shit, fuck out of here. He pulls out his gun, not the one you're thinking. No, this wasn't a 9mm. But he pulls out his gun and he shoots Officer Warren. And, chaos breaks out after he shoots her. And another officer ends up pulling out their gun and they shoot Travis in the neck. He ends up dying from a gunshot wound. And of course, they're not able to arrest him. Thank God, Officer Warren, she survived and made a full recovery. So now they got to figure out how they're going to proceed with this trial because the one person that was their suspect and, one that was accused of doing it is now dead. Terrence has been released, but they still never recovered this gun. Now, although they never said for sure and confirmed that he did it, you know what? Never mind. I'm going to save that for fair or foul. So time continues to go on, and about a year later, on July 1st, 2014, Katrina just suddenly sees the light. She tells the cops, I ain't about this life. I'm not trying to have no crazy ass trial. So she decides that she's going to plead guilty to first-degree murder. When she goes to trial on July 8th, 2014, she goes before the judge and she tells them everything that she knew and what happened. And, she plays her part because part of her guilty plea, there was a stipulation that she had to testify against any living suspects should they go to trial. But there's no more living suspects because the only one they had was Travis and he's dead. And, Terrence was a suspect, but he was cleared. So then there's this whole mystery of who was this other gunman. Was there another gunman? Because Antoinette never saw their faces. She said it was more than one, but was it? Was she lying? We never know, So that stipulation was added, but it was before Travis died. Now, Katrina was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole and was immediately incarcerated. Now, her mama, Antoinette, she also pleaded guilty for the murder. And under her plea bargain, she also had to serve life in prison with the possibility of parole. And they ended up dropping the charge of the possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime, obviously, because, they never recovered the gun. She had to testify against any of the surviving co-defendants that went to trial. Katrina was transported to Pulaski State Prison in Hawkinsville, Georgia for her life sentence. And then her mother, Antoinette, she's doing her life sentence at Arendelle State Prison, which is in like Raoul, Georgia. I'm assuming that's like the name of it or whatever. And good old Terrell, he's already in prison. So he gets sentenced to another life sentence in his current state or whatever, in addition to the time that he's serving for his current sentence. And he's transferred again. This time he's transferred to Hancock State Prison in Sparta, Georgia. So they made sure to put their asses where they can't communicate with each other. Baby, ain't no dick that damn good that's going to make me say that I got to go out here and commit murder. Hell no. But that's what happened. That is the story of Travis Berrien, the murderer, that got away twice. And now it is time for Fair or Foul, where we look at the sentencing in the justice system to determine if it was a fair sentence or if it was really just, a fucked up situation. Now, when it comes to Antoinette and Katrina, them getting life in prison with the possibility of parole, I think it is a little fucked up, honestly. I call foul on that only because this was premeditated. I feel like there was no proof or evidence that her husband was abusive towards her. None was presented. I couldn't find a drop of it. Katrina didn't even live in the home. Like, this was a pastor, a man of God. And I'm not saying that, he was innocent or perfect by far. He may have had, a temper. But to plot a murder and basically tell your daughter's boyfriend, if you want to call him that you wanted somebody taken care of because they were abusive to you, it's not necessarily the way that you do it. You go to the police, you call the cops, you file a report. You were already planning on divorcing him after the 4th of July weekend. You were literally a week away. So what changed? I don't think she was ever planning on filing for a divorce. Maybe she was after the insurance money. I'm thinking that's what it was. But who knows. But they caught your ass quick, didn't they? As to Terrell, with him getting another life sentence, good for him. You've got to be the dumbest motherfucker on the planet to concoct a plan for murder and you don't even get paid for it. You literally met her a few weeks prior, and I can't even say met, you talked to her on the phone. Your girlfriend called you and was like, hey, I want you to talk to my mama. And the first thing that she says is, my husband is getting on my nerve. I want to get rid of him. That wasn't a red flag for you, homie. You in prison, big dog. You didn't bother to say, hey, at least put some money on my books or something. You just decided, well, I guess because I'm fucking this girl who, living on the outside, already breaking the law because she wasn't even supposed to have her ass there in the first place, seeing as how she was pretty much banned from every prison in the state of Georgia and stole another guard's password, putting his job at risk. Now here you are deciding that you're going to take it upon yourself to be the head nigga in charge, and now your ass is doing life in prison without parole. You had 20 years. You could have been out and living your best motherfucking life right now. You could have been out and kicking it with Shawty on the outside. But instead, you just decided, man, fuck all that. I'm going to go ahead and kill a motherfucker. I don't even know. Set him up to die, all because this woman fed me this story. What if you would have found out later on that she was lying? Like, I don't know if this had to do with some, gang shit or what, but you fucked yourself over, big dog. So on that one, you getting a life sentence without parole, oh, that's fair as fuck. Now, it's unfortunate that Terrence was charged, but at least he was acquitted. Like now, okay, now I will say I've never really known a nigga to leave his cell phone in his car like that and then loan it to somebody. Like that was a bit questionable. I'm not gonna lie. But they were able to confirm his alibi when he was with old girl, knocking it down or whatever. Still, nigga, you lent somebody your car and you left your cell phone in it. Clearly you had no bitches because you know how we get when it comes to checking cell phones. Or, you know what? Now that I think about it, maybe that's why he left it in the car because he knew she couldn't get to it then. But I'm like, look at what happened because of that action. And then, of course, you've got Travis. And it's unfortunate that he was never taken to trial. He literally avoided 3 murder charges. Nancy and Angela, and now Michael. The fact that he was able to do that is insane. He was literally hiding in plain sight for so long around the families and friends of the very people that he killed, and then just suicide by cop. Like he knew that if his ass was arrested, he was going away for the rest of his life. Like you killed 3 people, not 1, not 2, but 3. And a part of me is like, how the fuck were you messing with a girl that was only 17 years old? You're 26. What the fuck are you doing fucking with a teenager? Can you not get a bitch your age? I'm thinking about that baby that he got. And I'm like, okay, was it with a teenager? Did you have it with an adult? Y'all have been fucking with each other off and on. And, this is a time where I start to question parents. Not saying that I'm wanting to blame them or anything like that. I'm not trying to call them bad people, but I do want to ask, how is it that your child was talking to somebody that is 26? This is where we as parents need to step in and monitor what's going on in our children's lives. Because if we don't, shit like this happens. I got teenagers. I'm monitoring cell phones, looking at phone records, text messages, all that. One of my kids' friends tried to pull a fast one on me the other day, pretending to be a mama, like I couldn't tell the difference. And I definitely told my child, stay the fuck away from that fast ass little girl. Like these kids think they slick. You got to stay on their asses, honey. But the fact that this man was 26 years old, like a decade older than her, had already been in prison before, was a member of the Gangster Disciples, which, of course, like I said, is a serious gang, and all of this, but was with a teenager. Like, I could see if he was like 36 and she was maybe 27, I might not flip as much, but come on now, make that make sense. I really wish that he hadn't done that whole suicide by cop, because his ass definitely needed to go to trial. His ass definitely needed to face the consequences of his actions. Like, as crazy as it sounds, even though he did, do suicide by cop, he got away scot free. That's the shit that bugs me. I'm grateful that the officer didn't die and was able to recover, but I know that those two families of those girls and Michael Riley's family, they'll never have justice. And then on top of that, Antoinette and Katrina get the possibility of parole. No, stay your ass in prison where you belong. Just because you didn't pull the trigger don't mean you didn't set all of this into motion, because you literally did. But I guess, this is a situation where the criminal justice system can only do but so much, but it's still a bunch of bullshit. Like, I'm mad as fuck about that. That is all for this week's episode of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast. You can follow the show on the various streams on Instagram and TikTok at Infamous One Podcast. And that's a number one, by the way, not spelled out. And you can leave a review there. On Twitter, it's Infamous One Pod, where you can also leave a review. On Facebook, you can join the private discussion group, the Infamous Ones discussion group. But please be advised, if I said it once, I'm going to say it again. If you don't answer the questions, you ain't getting in. Okay. That goes for y'all that's outside requesting and didn't bother to answer one damn question. Y'all can stay y'all asses out there. But I do need to post some of my wedding pics in there so y'all can see how great it was. The show streams on multiple streaming services like Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and so on and so on. So leave a review. It only takes a few seconds. And you know what? Speaking of reviews, let's do a couple. This one comes from Apple Podcast from Mama Sue 1987, and it says the best OMG. She says, I found out about this podcast on Sisters Who Kill in my Mariah voice. So that means you got to go, Sisters Who Kill. I can't do it like them, but y'all get it. She says, your podcast is part of my routine on my drive to work or when I want to tune my coworkers out. I appreciate the effort that you put into each episode. You do not disappoint. Keep up the great work. I am all caught up 100. Oh, thank you, Zalin. I appreciate it so much. Listen, I keep telling y'all, Sisters Who Kill did me a solid shouting me out. Like, I love Mariah and Taz. I have listened to every episode 3 times now. I told myself I was going to wait 90 days and then go binge the episodes, but yeah, I never stick to that. Like, ever. I'm like, fuck it. Every Friday, I go in. And I get it with tuning the coworkers out because listen, I wish I could do that. The next review is from Apple Podcast as well, from Tay Michelle, and it says, I love this podcast. I absolutely love this podcast. I appreciate the level of detail and amount of research you do to tell the stories you tell. It's like podcast meets Dateline, but with my homegirl. Keep working hard. You'll only grow from here. Stay consistent. I appreciate you. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I tried, darling. If you want to support the show, or if you're feeling the spirits, meaning that liquor we've been sipping on tonight, which is this sangria mixed with the brandy, go ahead and click that link at the bottom of the screen from whatever app you're listening to this episode on and hit listener support. And now that I think about it, I do believe that they have done away with listener support, but no worries. You can still do subscriptions. And I want to say they start as at 99 cents. And then it just goes from there, and you can have it set up to where it automatically comes out of your account every month. If you want to do 99 cents, if you want to do $1.99, $2.99, $3.99, $4.99, $5.99, whatever, You can also donate via the Cash App at $Infamous1Pod. That's $INFAMOUSONEPOD. and donations go toward, new recording equipment. It's taken me a minute to get it, but it is coming. And of course, shout out to the popcorn donation, the popcorn gang. They cash app that $10 every week faithfully. Okay. Real quick, I definitely want to shout out to the listeners. Spotify dropped the stats on the show for this year, and I found out that 97% of my listeners for the year 2024 are new and found me this year, which is amazing. I definitely love y'all for that. Keep inviting your people to listen and keep tuning in yourself. I was looking at the episodes and it said that the top episode for this year was A Father's Fight for Justice, which was the story of Anaya Day. Y'all, that episode was streamed 53% more than any other episode. And that is amazing. Like, do y'all know that this show was streamed in 22 different countries? Of course, the US was being the top country, but 22 different countries streamed my show. Like, see, this is why I stay sharing and stay, telling y'all share, share, share. Like, you guys are doing just that. And I love it. And, of course, shout out to Sisters Who Kill. They are number one in podcasts right now. Let's go, ladies. That is freaking awesome. But I mean, are we really surprised? Because it's Sisters Who Kill. And, although the numbers are still growing by the day, right now I'm in the top 10 true crime podcasts for about 200 fans. And I'm in the top 5 for about 133 fans. And the number one show for about 50 fans. So I'm like, okay, about 50 y'all really rock with me. Got me number one in the true crime podcast. Okay, all right. Listen, the numbers may be small to some people, but I'm hoping that next year that, the numbers will double or even triple. So, thank you, Spotify, for the stats. It's nothing but up, baby. 55 reviews and counting. Like, let's go. In the words of Glorilla, let's go. Keep them coming. Listen, I'm trying to get into the thousands when it comes to these reviews. Okay. All right, y'all. If you have a case that you want to hear more on, that you feel has been ignored in the Black community, if you want to inquire about ad space, or if you want to leave a review, send an email to infamous1pod@gmail.com. That's infamousonePod@gmail.com. Once again, people, please share, share, share. This podcast is growing by the day, obviously, and it means the world. So please keep sharing. Until then, y'all know what it is. I'm your girl Kay. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see y'all next time with a new episode. And baby, all I can say is I hope you like chicken. That's gonna give you a little hint of the next episode. All right, y'all. I'm out. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast hosted by Kay. Be sure to like and comment on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe so that you never miss an episode.